So I've been testing different tanks in solo content, seeing which one does better. Demon Hunter, well, there might be a little bit of a gap here. Can you spot the difference? Nope, your eyes are not playing tricks on you. I did in fact die 12 times on one and 0 times on the other. It's not a complete apples to apples comparison. However, there are some very stark differences between the two classes, the way they play. In this video, I will go into exactly what they are and how to make your life easier when clearing solo content, no matter what class you play. So it's obviously not a secret that there is a big difference between the performance of these two classes. It might not be why you think it is though. So yes, my two characters do have about a tier's level worth of eye level difference, but the big thing that stuck out to me was monks have a huge amount of self-support beyond just keeping themselves alive. So in fact, I would say that they are far worse at keeping themselves alive than they are supporting themselves overall. What I mean by that is by their true positioning, their impact on their group, the overall damage that they're doing, the output, and then the total control that they have over the environment. So these factors play a much bigger role than just staying alive. Demon Hunter actually does a pretty good job of that on its own, but it really lacks in those other aspects, which are very, very, very important for when you are controlling the rate or the flow of the content that you're doing. So I started to notice this on the first boss of the ritual site. It is a very movement heavy encounter. So what can we do on the Demon Hunter to prevent these problems that we're causing ourselves, that we're not causing ourselves on the monk, or that the monk has the tools built in to solve? I've been fighting the boss for up to about a minute at this point, and you can see his health is right around like 30%. The monk, however, at this stage in the video is right around the 20 to 30 second mark. He's at about 50% health. While there is a clear gear difference, the reason that he's at such a low health is because instead of trying to survive the fight and progress, I am ultimately trying to get his health under my health because of the ability Touch of Death. So what that does is it one-shots them if they are below the HP that my character is. The content for the rituals may be higher tier than Delves due to its nature of having more mechanics. It is more so a solo piece of content, and you don't have a helper like the Lyra. So since that's the case, their HP is actually very, very low compared to Delve bosses. So with the monk, all you have to do is stack health using Fortifying Brew, using the buff found amongst the Delve. This will give you up to like 40+% HP on top of what you came with, thus essentially cheesing any boss that you encounter because they have lower health and you can stack health above it. Meanwhile, with any other taking class, if I were to be pulling two groups of the elites together like this, I would probably be running into multiple mechanics like this, and then I'd be running into trouble. However, on Monk, I'm able to simply gather them, prepare my setup, heal myself to full, and then pop Brew, and then one-shot them with at least one of them with Touch of Death. And then that leaves me with just the one that I can kill normally. So I largely doubt that many have experienced this in the route that I have, but they have experienced it to a certain degree. So what do? Do you give up, go back to character select, reroll monk, level him up, gear him, and do it again? Might not hurt, just kidding. You don't do that. What we have to do is we have to hit the root of the problem. What are we having an issue with? The issue that we're having is our overall outlook. by fixing how I look at it, I was able to put together a build that was more suitable for this specific fight. That is what I used, which just contained less overall damage and less like scary, like oh no scary moment things like double darkness, or well just a shorter cooldown darkness, and then the cheat death. I was able to pick up the shield and the extra heal from the Fell Breath, and then just more survivability and mitigation overall. So this just let me stay in the nitty gritty a little bit longer, and then ultimately gave me the firepower to, over time, take him down. I took away the speed buff from the talents, so I made sure to use Infernal Strike when I could to move into the ring to stop the damage. Since I couldn't clear the route, I would try to move as close to underneath him as possible. This way, when he would drop his AoE, I would have enough free room to move my character to the Fire Soak. I kept my Fear Sigil and Silence Sigil to specifically take care of these mobs, and then took the reduced Fear Sigil to hopefully have that up if I ever had to deal with them another time. This way I would have a kick for the boss too, for when he has a cast, and also keep imprisoned for the fatigue mob, like this guy. So now thankfully, instead of having to use all my panic abilities just to survive to this point, my damage has actually been meaningful, and it has gotten him to a point where I can finally kill him as long as I can survive the moments that were once detrimental to victory. So now I'm able to hit them all with every cooldown still available, and use my fire abilities to shield myself up at the same time as taking his life points to 0. And of course, the last boss ends up being a complete fluke, and I walk right over him, as I already knew the mechanics. He doesn't have anything super stressful, just as long as you avoid and kick his volley. Don't kick fire, Shadow Blast, kick Shadow Volley. Other than that, ultimately, I think that this entire site ritual is a great way for them to assess kind of where the individual player may be at, give us some rewards for doing so as well, which I have yet to encounter, but I will soon, I hope. Blizz, please. I do think that they are trying to see what level of content we're capable of doing without add-ons or notifications, and I think this is a great way for them to handle that. Also, I think that Monk will probably suffer to his own success, inevitably, as you can only remain the top for so long. The bigger you are, the harder you fall. So that's why I am trying to keep tabs on all the other classes, because this will benefit me if they do end up changing the way Monk works, which they tend to do when things are a little bit more oppressive. But I still think that it's not super strong. I think it's just using his strengths can be very strong, like anything else. It's just finding them and then abusing them to your enemy's weaknesses. So that's my video for today. I really hope you enjoyed it. Great fights, both of them. So please go out, crush the enemy, and yeah, let me know in the comments how you did. Like and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you in the future.